Keep on dancing down in West Hollywood. Hey everyone, how's it going? It is either already Chavez. I am coming at you today with many a good things, and we'll talk about some of the haters. But I don't even want to say haters. We'll talk about the less than impressed people. Right now, my co-host Dr. Stuff, Crypto Rain, and Crypto Cosmo, my men. No one here but men. Love it. How y'all doing today?
Pretty amazing.
Good, man. Doing good.
It's a great time. So there was a beautiful 45-minute video yesterday that they haven't had one of these in a while, and for the first time, I think unless we had like Reese here, I know for the first time the team came in and said like they talked about OMI, like the founders of VeVe and OMI talked of VeVe talked about OMI in a multiple of different ways. It was a 45-minute video. It wasn't short, and they talked about some utility that's coming soon. We talked about certain things, certain regulations. Did you guys take a look at the video from yesterday?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Bullish. That was awesome.
So as far as the video is concerned, when we have, again, there's so much to go over, and obviously it's OMI Homie Show. What caught your eye on the video, whether it be on VeVe, whether it be on OMI? What do you think is most significant for the project, and why? Whether it be like user growth, whether it be money coming in, just let me know.
Well, I like that they were talking about OMI, and they're, surprised us with an additional use case of the OMI to gem. And that does communicate that they're putting thoughts, because essentially VeVe was funded by OMI, right? That's where they got the initial funding. And as a token holder, you're often a little bit concerned that like the underlying project isn't going to leave you high and dry. And so one of the big complaints lately is they're not talking about OMI enough. And there were some reasons why they couldn't for a long time, but now those reasons are out of the way. Why aren't they talking about it more? And that was a concern, and it was a growing concern. And smart to be concerned, because those hurdles have been out of the way for quite a while now. Why aren't they talking about it more? So it was refreshing to have them really take OMI head on, provide a surprise use case, be talking about it and addressing that, like, yes, this is how we initially funded the project. We want to bring value to those that hold the OMI token and believed in us. So I like that update a lot.
Doc, what are initial thoughts, first reaction?
Yeah, love the video. And listen, Randy, you and I talked, right? And I mean, from our conversations, you ended up doing that kind of like open letter to VeVe and OMI, right? Kind of talking about some of the issues that I brought up, that I was just like, one of them was this. Like, I've been talking about it. For years, I defended OMI, just like, and the caution that they had to use when talking about the token and why they didn't talk about it. Now, I didn't know at the time, right, that it basically, because of this lawsuit with Kaidence, they couldn't be seen to be manipulating the price of the token in any way, shape, or form. So they couldn't talk about it. And then when I went to Portugal, right, and they had this slide, they had this PowerPoint presentation where they talked about OMI being, like in the center of like everything to basically grow the ecosystem. I tweeted it out and I was like, listen, I'm really excited about that. And then after that, it was like radio silence from David Yu. And I kind of went on this thing and West clipped it, right? But I was saying how basically, I know West clips everything. But like where I said, listen, the lawsuit is over. We're getting a lot more clarity. Even like though the regulation isn't out, we're getting posts and comments from Hester Peirce and the crypto task force kind of saying, here's how we see, like, here's how we're interpreting things. We don't think most NFTs are securities, especially digital collectibles aren't securities, right? They're talking about airdrops and things. And so that was one of my things. I'm like, why is David Yu not talking about the token? When I went to San Diego Comic-Con and he had Pudgy Penguins, like one of their representatives talking about Pudgy Penguins, NFTs and everything. And half of their discussion was about the Pengu token and how it was bringing in new users, right? Because you have these Web3 people, they want the token. And because they own the token, they are incentivized to help Pudgy Penguins grow, right? And get like, basically like get spread the word, right? So he's like, there's more people invested in all of this. And we got this shadowy, shady figure popping up. What is happening right now? It's very ominous, actually. Like Dark Lord of the Sith over here, Foster Hill.
No.
But anyways, like basically saying, like, David, you're the CEO of OMI and VeVe, and I see you talking all the time about VeVe, and I've defended these positions for a very long time, but now I feel like all those roadblocks are gone. I'm not seeing that. And so to have this update here where they talked about expanded utility for OMI, right? I mean, the OMI to gem, which I don't see that as big of a deal as the other announcement that came out today regarding that everything is migrating. We'll get Foster to talk more about this, but basically starting November 19th, everything, if you want to cash out, you will need the OMI token, or you'll need to sell into the OMI token to do that, right? And we can talk about like the economics of that and, what are the tokenomics, and there's people who are like, well, it's going to create a lot of sell pressure. We can discuss all that, but I think that was huge. I loved the physical merch that we're going to be able to get only with OMI.
Well, how can you say that? We don't know what it's going to look like yet. It could come out, look like poop. Like we got to make sure that these designs are fire.
Well, okay, that's fair. That's fair. And listen, Foster, now that you're here, and I was talking, like, I know that you talk closely with the Stacker team, but one of the things that we talked about that was super fun, like with some sort of OMI exclusive drops, right? That like has no IP tied to it, like VeVe is freaking like VeVe rocket ship. Because I was like, listen, everyone's so over logos. Like everyone I've talked to, they're just like the Stacker logo is like, But if there was a VeVe rocket that was animated and launched into the Stacker logo, or launched and landed on the Stacker logo, that would be epic. That would be epic, and something that everyone would buy in. Anyways, there's a lot of ideas out there, but I really like that. I like the expanded utility that they talked about with OMI, and that they talked about OMI a lot, which, like, after kind of voicing that, it was really exciting to see them go full force with it.
Foster, we 100%. I know you're on vacation right now, or I wouldn't say vacation. You are enjoying some family time, so I do want to get you out of here. But I just want to have one thing from Crypto Cosmo, just initial reaction on the video that was dropped yesterday, and then we'll get to Foster. I just didn't want to skip over him.
Yeah. No, honestly, it's awesome to see that the team has been building this entire bear market. Like, there's so many projects that they're just showing up after being MIA for like 2 to 3 years. Honestly, they didn't have the funds. Or even if they were still building, they were just in very much low flow mode, very little communication at all. And VeVe's been building the entire time. Just to hear Dan talk about that he's building the portals for the VeVeverse is awesome, and that they are going to be integrating the OMI token into the VeVeverse. And as that continues to level up, OMI's essential part of their plans long term. And that's a big deal. And this whole change with allowing the cash out from OMI and kind of forcing it that way, I mean, that was one of my concerns, is that it's awesome that you could buy things on Stacker and listings for OMI, but there really wasn't much market yet for it. And how are we going to get it so that it really expands and accelerates that? This is the start. And Foster will probably talk more. He was talking on Spaces just a little bit ago, but there are more incentives coming. But this is a big one. There are going to be a lot of people listing for OMI, especially if they want to cash out their funds, which there's going to be a lot of people going to want to do this bull run. So the sellers are going to be there. The buyers are going to be chasing the sellers where the sell walls are at. They're going to be going there. So things are going to be naturally headed that direction. I'm pumped.
So Foster, thank you for being here. I guess the first question I want to ask, I don't know how long we have, so I'll try to be quick. What was your expectations for when this was released, of the initial reactions from people, and how has that differed from the actual reactions you've received from OMI Space to people on X? That'd be cool if you could answer that. I don't know if you heard me. Or if...
Yeah. I just love the whole setup.
I quit. Someone else is going to have to take over, because apparently...
Well, I think it might have been that he's like... maybe that he couldn't hear something like that, so he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna jump." Yeah,
so it was that good of a reaction.
Can you hear us now, Foster, or did you just like not want to answer the question?
So I'm sitting in my truck right now, and I have in-vehicle Wi-Fi, and I'm trying to like find. I'm like I'm on a dirt road right now. I'm like trying to find like a spot that has enough reception that the in-vehicle Wi-Fi is working. So the space that I was on, it was fine because it was just audio. But I think 5 of you guys with cameras is like more than what this can handle right now. But I'm gonna tough it out as much as I can because I
Hope that helps.
talk. It's hard not to be bullish. So
I'm saying on.
We'll see
I
if turning
know.
off some of the cameras helps. I don't know if it does make a difference with StreamYard.
can you
I
guys
don't know if it makes a difference.
We can hear you now.
can you guys hear me? I moved up like 50 feet to see if it'll give me better reception.
Wherever you're
Yeah,
at now, that works.
Be better.
Okay, am I better now? Okay, cool. Yeah. There's like trees and stuff all around me, like above me. So I'm trying to like, yeah. I just have like my dome light on to try and like get some lighting so that you guys can see me. I wasn't gonna miss this for the world. Let's be honest. I mean, I could be
on Unsolved Mysteries with Foster Hill.
yeah. I could be in the middle of the Appalachians or something. I was gonna find a way to lifeline in to discuss this. I mean, how could you not be excited after all this time, right? And that's the reality is it took freaking forever for us to get here, but it's like a snowball, right? Like a snowball starts, it's small, but then once it starts going down the hill, it builds up momentum. It becomes a huge boulder. Like it's unstoppable. So I'm really excited about what these integrations are going to allow. So
it's interesting. So I want to talk a little bit about this, like, because they brought it up in Spaces, this question. They were just like, right here, this I'm Groot, right? There are more sellers on Stacker than buyers because we know what happens in. Why would that change, like, from what is happening right now with gems? Right? So if the same amount of people are selling for gems and then they just list on Stacker, like it's the same sellers that are doing that, I guess. Like, I don't know. But the other thing is people are saying, well, does this create sell pressure on the OMI token, right? Because if they want to cash out, and Foster talked about this, but like you'll list an OMI and then there's like a one button click and you can convert OMI to USDC and then you can transfer it over to Coinbase and it's out, right? And so they're like, well, that's sell pressure. It's like, right. But on the opposite side of that, someone had to buy OMI to have that trade happen, right? So like there was buy pressure on the token first, right? But then on top of that, so let me give you a scenario, right? Say someone's listing something for 1 million OMI, right? So I want that collectible, and so I'm going to go buy 1 million OMI, and then I'm going to go like use that OMI to buy that collectible from that person. Well, there's a burn that happens. A portion of that OMI gets burned in that transaction, right? So then the person receives less than 1 million OMI that they then cash out for, right? But there was a million OMI bought, and there's less than a million OMI sold in that transaction when they convert back to USDC. So it's a net positive burn of the OMI token when that happens. So I guess I'm not understanding where the concern is of like the sell pressure for that, because someone has to buy the token to even initiate that transaction. So the purchase had to happen before the sell can happen.
Agreed. There is and what Pink Panther said, I'm only buying and selling OMI on Stacker, supporting the OMI token. When you take a look at the thrown around number, that 1.4 billion in secondary sales, like 99% of that was on the VeVe secondary app market. And that's without the perceived value of the transfers that happened during 2021. So now you're going to take and obviously the market slowed down a lot, but you're going to take a lot of the transactions that would be on VeVe and you're going to switch them to Stacker, and each one of them burns a percentage of OMI, small and large, that will all add up. So I'm really curious to see on how much of a catalyst that the burning is going to be, because a lot of projects say like, okay, why don't you buy and burn? Once you buy, the buy pressure is done. Burning that, I don't want to say it doesn't matter. It looks great for optics. But I'm really curious to see how the burning of all of the secondary market, how that affects OMI, how that affects sentiment. Foster, have you or Puddin done any projections on that? Yeah, we might have to might have to fly faster Starlink for stuff like this.
I think it'll be interesting too. I've seen this question pop up a couple times. Chombo just asked it, and then someone else asked it earlier. But like, does this mean that potentially transfers are coming back if gems are gone? It'll be interesting to see. Like the thing is well, first and foremost, like there is the whole money laundering aspect of it, but VeVe with their levels and tiers, I think can combat that pretty substantially. And I would hope, and I think that as a community we should push for some sort of like a minimum number of transfers, like a month, or like maybe you pay a subscription for it. Maybe it's $5 a month, right? But then you can do 10 transfers or 8 transfers or something like that, or you know what I mean? Because like, but with that transfer, you got to pay the royalty fee unless you can demonstrate that it's a family member, or you know what I mean, something like that. Because otherwise, then people they do these off-app trades, and then a lot of the money from the ecosystem, which helps VeVe continue to support and build out the app, and and these IPs, they lose out on that revenue. So I think that's one of those are the two biggest things, is like Bank Secrecy Act compliance, and then also like ensuring that people aren't kind of like subverting the whole mechanism that VeVe has to make money and that the IP has to make royalties and stuff like that. But if there's like a minimum number of transfers or maximum number of transfers that they could do in a month or something like that, and then they've got to cover that royalty or something, I think that we should ask for that, but we do have to keep in mind that there are some costs that we'll probably have to pay with that.
Agreed.
I mean, one thing I'll kind of interject is that David talked about on Spaces or wherever it was about bringing in the trading card games, right? TCGs onto VeVe eventually. And for me, like, David knows this well, but a big part of TCGs is trading, right? Like TCG Pocket with Pokemon, you're trading and things like that. So it does make me wonder if they're going to bring TCG onto VeVe, if they're going to allow some sort of trading or things like that to happen, because that's a big part of that whole space. So I'll be curious to see how that rolls out.
That's true. I did appreciate that interview. I think it was on Emoji's Space on Twitter, and he had gone to the national or international card convention, and how excited he was about how big that space is, because really nobody has done a great job with collectible cards in a digital format. And it would be awesome if VeVe got into there. Like packs of cards are a big thing. Like HRO was going into that space, and they had like the hybrid cards, and then they had digital only, and they had the the DC license, but nobody's really crushed it there. And I like the idea of how cards are, where you get like 10 random cards in a pack, or 8 or 5, and some end up being super valuable and you get different rarities. There's a reason why opening packs of cards is so addicting, because the surprise you get, and blind boxes kind of do the same thing, but you get one thing open, where with a pack of cards you get multiple openings.
Agreed.
Yeah, I love that, and that's something that to touch on that, right, with these packs, that's so exciting. I love that. Even with like the Pokemon, right, TCG, like it's fun that you get a pack, right, and there's 5 cards in there as opposed to just 1, right? And it would be really interesting if VeVe started doing that, right, with these packs of cards. And then if people just started to live stream buying like a freaking ton of these cards and then just opening them on stream, like, I mean, just like the physical ones, right? Like I could absolutely, like, I would watch that, right? I would just like be like, what did they get? What did they get? Like people are drawn to that. Like, and especially if you can make them pretty cheap, right? Like, like, maybe it's $6, $5 or something like that for a pack, right? And you get 5 cards. But literally, maybe like, and you can outline from the very beginning, there's going to be like 100,000 packs or something like that, right? So there's just a ton, but it's so cheap that people can do that. But there are, and David talked about that, right? Is these like, there are these commons, and they're already doing that, right? With the common editions and then the special common edition that they have there. And he was talking about some of these like baseball cards and stuff like that, like, you know, you have the common edition, but if you get the special common edition, which is only just a different color border, and those are selling, you know, like the common may be worth like $2 or $1, but then that special border common is worth like $30,000, right? And just like, I mean, how big of a difference that is.
Like that.
So if you get these cards, and even doing something like that where it's like it's still just a common, but it's a special common. So there's just so many ways to do that, right? And the licensing, and then there's trading. And here's one of the things that I love about drop.io, right? Is it's like if you collect like the whole set of something, then you actually get a digital, or I guess a physical, but like Funko Pop. Like it's like I'll show you right here. Let's see.
Nice booty.
How about now?
Yes,
but
we can hear
it's
you.
pretty Funko, right? If I collected the whole set of cards of the Harry Potter thing, then I got mailed this. Like, and to buy that many packs, or to like go on to the secondary market and buy all of the cards I needed to get to, right? VeVe's making money from that. So again, there's these different incentives that I think that VeVe can replicate if and when they get into this card thing. And there's two different aspects, right? There's the collecting aspect of these cards, but then also like if they get some of these gaming cards and you can legitimately play, if they collaborate with like Magic the Gathering or some large company and you collect these cards and then you can play them, oh my gosh, like it gets crazy.
Think about when ripping packs. Oh, sorry, Randy. Is what if they sell them in boxes? That was one of the things that Dan or David was talking about.
I can't promise how long you guys are going to have me, but I'm going to do my absolute best. I think I've found like a patch in the road here, like where maybe we get lucky with my camera off. So I'm really going to do my best for you boys, because I know it's an exciting night here, but I apologize for this. Usually,
well, we heard you loud and clear there.
That
was great.
with the resources we have. So,
all right. Continue, Cosmo, and then we'll turn it back to the Foster.
Oh yeah, I was just saying, like with ripping packs, like David was talking about box breakers of people that buy the boxes and they're kind of guaranteed like a certain rarity of card with it. So I was like, if they were to open up that door with TCG and like Doc was saying, have like 100,000 packs available or something of a certain brand, and you could buy an entire box where you're guaranteed a certain rare card, that'd be cool.
Mm-hmm. I do have some thoughts on that. I want to get to Foster while we have him, but first, this Cosmic Disarray Mass OMI, he would never get selected for the VeVe, like, oh hey, whose picture on the feed do you like best? Because his name was Mass Murders, and they're like, we can't have that like on our on our feed thing. So I thought that was great. Foster, my man. All right, so the thoughts on the reception for everything, and the and just I don't know what's your favorite thing about it so far, and why? No, he's gone. He's dead. We survived. All right, so while he's gone, I'm going to get back to the card thing. It's the special editions that Doc was talking about. I love that for VeVe, like they're doing in the thing right now. They're doing that on the just on the app in general. The issue I get like with VeVe, it's a collectibles industry, and it's high-end digital collectibles, but the same issue they had with Pokemon after WotC, after Wizards of the Coast stopped printing, is that they got rid of first edition. So they used to have on the first base set, it was first one print run of first edition, one print run of Shadowless, and then unlimited. They got rid of the Shadowless version, and then it was just first edition and unlimited. And this way it gave the collectors something to chase for with the first editions, because only one print run. And anyone else that wanted to play the game, they didn't really care about collecting. They just wanted to, build the best decks. You had to go in and buy all these packs, and then you could build these decks. And, Charizard wasn't really that playable. Charizard's worth massive amounts, not because he's very playable, but because he's really cool. So I'd like to see how VeVe can balance that. We'll get back to that later. Mm-hmm. Foster. Somebody else asks Foster questions. Every time I do, he goes away.
I'll ask Foster the same question you did. Maybe we have better luck. Foster, what's been your favorite part about this rollout of this news?
That's a great question. It's a culmination of a ton of work that's been going on behind the scenes for an extended period of time. So to finally be able to start to talk about it and to have a lead up and public build up to it where people can start to see the benefits of it taking place in the ecosystem and some of the possibilities that may exist. And we'll have some more announcements between now and the time that it is rolled out that I think will further complement the fact that this is coming and will get people even more bullish on the concept of really integrating and utilizing OMI within the wider ecosystem. So I think for me that's probably the most exciting thing is that people are already starting to speculate on some of the benefits and some of the reasons why this may be a good thing, but there's still even more reasons that people haven't quite hit on yet or discovered and they will. And then I think once they start to see all of those pieces come together, they'll go, oh, just about not having cash out with gems anymore, or hey, this isn't just about adding a utility to OMI. Like there's really like some wider angles here at play. And I think when all of those kind of come to a head, that's when kind of the real fun begins. So for me, that's the fun, is that I can now watch people kind of speculate openly on what some of those things might be, and people have started, like I said, to see some of the avenues that this could go. And so yeah, that's the fun part for me, is getting to watch the joy from the community, and allowing them to have been reassured that we actually have in fact we've still been working this whole time, right? Like we didn't go anywhere. We weren't not building the last couple of years, like you said at the beginning, Cosmo, when I first joined, right? Like there has been a plan. We have been working towards it, and while it may have taken longer wanted, when including myself, and totally a fair concern. Yeah, it's going to be exciting to see what the future holds.
Lou, Doc or Rain, you got any questions for him?
Well, so I know that there was a Twitter space before.
Did any of that go through?
Yes, that all went through, Foster. We heard you loud and clear.
Okay.
Yeah.
I saw Cosmo say yes, but with no audio. So like that's something, I guess.
Can you hear us? Foster, can you hear us? Foster.
I may just go jump in the lake. Maybe that'll amplify my signal, and maybe you guys will be able to hear me better that way. I don't know. I'm trying so hard. I don't know.
Foster, what is all of the alpha? Tell us everything. Tell us everything you're not supposed to tell us. Can you hear us
If
at all?
OMI's going to $1, don't say anything. I love this game.
You heard it or didn't hear it here, you know? No, that's funny. Yeah, it sounds like
I can hear you talking, Doc, if you're about to ask a question.
Okay, great. So, well, I just lost my train of thought. What were some of the concerns? I think it's important because obviously we have YouTube and Twitter and the communities. There is some crossover, right, in the Venn diagram, but like there's definitely people who are only on YouTube. What were some of the concerns that were asked in the Twitter space that you can address here and kind of go over?
Do it.
This guy. All right.
Sorry, I was having way too fun with the camera there. Reminds me of this place I was at in Vegas. That's a very inappropriate story. Foster's gone. Back to that first edition stuff with the Pokemon cards. I'm curious how VeVe handles that. First, like, how do they make it so that collectors can collect something scarce? Because if you have something that you could just buy unlimited packs, that makes it so that it's just hyperinflationary. So I think it would be really cool if they would have like a first edition run and then an unlimited thing. Because if they are trading cards, you want to gotta catch them all. Or if there's some type of game, if it's a TCG, if it's a trading card game, then you want to be able to build your decks and you want to be able to buy as many of these things as possible. So I'm curious how they do that. Yeah.
So This is something that no one's brought up before, but I believe that that's what this means. If you look at what Mr. Epico put there, he says money in, but no VeVe direct money out means no KYC needed at that point. So there is no more KYC because with everything being purchased with OMI, right? Like and the cash out being through OMI, then the responsibility is placed on the centralized exchanges, right? And so VeVe doesn't have to worry about that anymore. You can put money in, but if you want to cash out, right? Like that's the tie-in there. So then there is no more barrier for people having to KYC, and that is huge. That is huge for Web3. That's a big deal for Web3.
Because we didn't KYC for Stacker, right? We just created a login.
Correct.
And then,
right, because the KYC is done at the exit point of cashing out in fiat, which is at the centralized exchanges. So you don't need, when you create, you just need an email to create an account with Stacker, right? And with VeVe, they won't require KYC anymore because they're not cashing. There's no cash out on the VeVe app. So VeVe is not responsible at all for KYC. They can put money in, but that money, when it goes out, is cashed out at the centralized exchanges or in the crypto form. So they do not have to KYC.
But question is, the only way that you can actually buy a VeVe collectible on Stacker is by connecting your VeVe account to your Stacker account. So you would still have to KYC your VeVe account, right?
No, because you only need to KYC if you put in a certain amount of money or if you go to buy a certain amount of things. But if you just have an account and you open it up and you don't put any money on it and you're transacting through Stacker, so maybe that's something.
No, you guys are missing this point here, right? Like, so you only need KYC if you're putting money in and getting money out of the app. If you're just putting money into the app, right? So I'm buying gems. Okay, so let's do it this way, right? So if I'm buying gems, those gems are locked in VeVe, right? So like there's no exit point there for the gems. Now I can buy gems, and then I can buy a collectible. Now then I can sell that collectible for OMI, right? Which then the money that's coming in to purchase, like I would get an OMI and I could cash out that way. But if I'm cashing out that way, the exit point or the responsibility lies on the centralized exchange who is converting the crypto to cash out. So that's where the KYC is at that centralized exchange, because that's where the conversion to US dollars or whatever actual fiat money is going to happen is there. So there will be no more KYC needed for VeVe. Does that make sense?
I mean, I'm kind of waiting for VeVe to announce that. I want them to validate that. I definitely hope
let's place a bet. I'll bet you 20 million OMI right now.
400 billion OMI. No,
done. As much OMI as
I'm
you
not
want
saying
bet,
it won't.
bet
I
it.
just want to see them clarify it before I start planning on that being the case.
See, that hurts, man. That hurts, Cosmo.
That logic.
I'm not going to rely on my expertise. That's all right. Well, I'm going to make a big tweet about this. Wes, will you clip this? Will you clip this whole little segment there so I can just throw this in Cosmo's face in about,
Wes is
2
on it, I'm
weeks.
sure.
I will gladly take it. If you end up being right on this, I'll be pumped.
Yes, you have to log into VeVe to sell anything on Stacker. The whole thing of KYC, guys, is the cash responsibility. Like that's the cash in and out is what creates the need for KYC. If VeVe is not cashing you out, which they are not cashing you out, the centralized exchange is cashing you out. That's where the responsibility lies.
This is why there's no gems to OMI.
But
that would
KYC,
be an
you know, the
insane
bot
amount of
protection.
licenses.
G10 says KYC is part of the bot protection. You know what? They can do synthetic KYC. They did it before. They're doing it there. The best bot protection is actually the levels of the MCP, right? Because unless someone wants to get so let's say that someone's got 5,000 bots, but to access this drop, you need Diamond 3, right? Then all of a sudden they're gonna have to spend a freaking ton of money to get all of their bots, and they're gonna have to hold those collectibles on a daily basis to get that level, or they're gonna have to buy a freaking ton of bronze tickets, right, to do this. So either way, the community wins, right? Because if they're going to get these bots and they're going to buy a ton of bronze tickets, well, then that's a ton of OMI burn, right? So like that's the best bot protection, guys. I'm telling you, this is pretty phenomenal stuff. That's the way it's being structured.
Has that everyone had a lot of fun speculating? Well, I haven't been around to hear it.
Yes.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Nice. I'm standing
Well,
on the
so-
same dock I did the interview with O'Milly on, and I'm realizing I probably should have just done that. But now I'm standing in the middle of a lake in 12-degree weather in a sweater, so we'll see how long that lasts. But
Well, Foster, I want to ask you this. Now that with this announcement of OMI, basically the only way to cash out is by selling for OMI. Do you know, or have there been talks of dropping KYC requirements because there is no cash out on VeVe?
yeah, completely fair question. So obviously, cash out was certainly one of the main reasons why KYC was required. For anti-money laundering and regulatory reasons, having KYC for any entity that has cash out, money transmitter licenses, etc., are all required. So removing the ability to cash out with gems certainly lessens the requirement. Now, whether VeVe ultimately decides to remove KYC or not will ultimately fall up to them. But certainly, as we work towards identifying paths that allow for the most seamless and enjoyable onboarding, coming up with mechanisms to allow users to onboard in those easiest of ways is certainly a priority for both sides. I know, so I certainly don't want to speak for VeVe, but I think everyone has their opinions on KYC and the impact that it may have had when it was instituted and what may happen if it was removed. But certainly I know that the goal, the overarching goal, is to decrease barriers and increase the accessibility for users. So time will tell whether that's a decision VeVe ultimately makes. But certainly if they chose to do that, it would be something I would support.
So I want to address. So Puddin Cheeks is saying, let's see, what do you say? Yeah, might be getting anti-money laundering and KYC confused. So the Bank Secrecy Act incorporates anti-money laundering and know your customer, KYC, right? So that's kind of like the overarching umbrella is the Bank Secrecy Act that incorporates that. So anti-money laundering requires KYC, right? But if there's no cash out, then you can't be money laundering because there's no cash out. So now, Foster, that's a fair point that if like I guess I can't think of a reason why VeVe would still require it. I would love, if there's some reason why they say that, I would love to talk to their attorneys, just have a little private meeting and explain to them and point out to them in the BSA, Bank Secrecy Act, why they don't need to. Like, I don't know what else to say, right? Like, so I'm definitely not getting it confused. Like I am very aware of AML and KYC laws and what's required for money transmitter licenses, all of these things. So maybe I'm missing something. I'd love to hear if I'm missing something, then I could point to where, okay, yep, because I missed this. This is how it would be applied and they would still need that. But yeah, I stand by that, man. I don't think that VeVe needs KYC anymore.
Foster, has there been any projections done by you or anyone on the Stacker team that would give an estimate to how much more activity would be on Stacker and therefore how much more OMI would be burned as a result of that?
Yeah, I mean, look, the burn is certainly a byproduct of the engagement and utility that takes place on the platform. So, we're certainly cognizant of, any subsequent sell pressure that may exist from users integrating this, feature into the ecosystem and taking advantage of it. Certainly the burn component of users taking advantage of it. I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, we're doing this to aim for a specific target by a specific date. That's really not the rationale behind providing the features to users. This is really just one of many intended features to return the intended utility to the OMI token and to make it the focal participation metric for the VeVe platform. And so, Yeah, I mean, whether, you know, it will increase burn in any meaningful way or anything like that. I mean, really, it's going to depend on whether people want to utilize it, right? And I could speculate and say, oh, hey, it's going to do this or that, but ultimately, um, as I've said before, and I said it earlier tonight, and I'll say it again, if people don't want to utilize OMI over gems, then I'll feel like I have failed in my job. So certainly gems, you know, aren't going anywhere. You're still going to be able to utilize them if you want to buy them via fiat and you want to do all of that. But I really want to get to a point in the, you know, not so distant future where people are going to go, why would I buy gems with fiat, or why would I utilize gems that weren't purchased with OMI, or why wouldn't I use OMI to NFT over the gem market? And of course, you know, when you really start to break down, and I think, Doc, I heard you may have been doing it at some point when I was coming in and out earlier of the spaces, but when you start to consider the utilities and the impacts that a lot of them are going to have, right? I mean, you have OMI to bronze tickets, going to have a burn component. You have OMI to gem, has a burn component. You have OMI to NFT, which has a burn component. You have primary market drops that were recently confirmed that surprisingly no one is talking about, but I'm sure you could speculate on what might be happening with those. And then you have exclusive physical purchases at New York Comic Con that David announced, you know, a new utility for the token for the first time. And then you have Ecomi Secret Rare holders for the first time getting. That's just scratching the surface. I mean, I put out a tweet the other day. It really, you know, there'll be other ways that people will be able to utilize the token. There'll be different ways that users are rewarded for utilizing the token. I mean, right now, getting bonus MCP points and bronze tickets are great, but people don't even know the full extent of the reasons why bronze tickets exist. People didn't understand the benefits to having MCP points before rank and level based rewards started coming out. And now all of a sudden people are, you know, wanting to participate in the ecosystem more. And, you know, you were talking about bots earlier, Doc, and, you know, them coming back and being an issue. You know, VeVe's really geared towards this collectors at heart mantra. And as a byproduct of that, you either need to be a very serious collector or you need to be an OMI holder. And you know, if you're both, well, now you've supercharged your experience and you're getting the best of both worlds, right? I mean, I think the other day I was getting close to 1,600 MCP points just for holding OMI on the Stacker platform. You know, think about the benefits that gives me. That gets me basically into Diamond 1 almost, if not Diamond 2, right off the hop for me wanting to participate in some of these exclusive drops that VeVe has come out. Obviously, the first one being the Fantastic Four Johnny Storm that they came out with. So imagine the potential moving forward with the things that VeVe can roll out and the things that they can want to include as benefits for OMI holders in the ecosystem. And VeVe has they've read the Riot Act now. They've come out and said, OMI is our token. It's a priority for us, and here's how we're going to integrate it. And I think really for the first time, we've seen, you know, VeVe really stand up for OMI in a meaningful way to kind of say, yeah, this is our token. This is our ecosystem, and this is how we're going to utilize it. And for me, that's a breath of fresh air because for a long time, and I'm sure many people felt similarly to myself, you know, maybe VeVe felt like a little bit more of a priority than the OMI token. And how do we return that priority and focus back to OMI? And I feel like the steps that we've taken over the last 24 hours, well, they just recently became public knowledge, have been working hard behind the scenes. And we have many more integrations and utilities that we have been working on that we haven't discussed publicly yet that will kind of further cement this. Oh, yeah, they never actually forgot about OMI. They just maybe got off track a little bit, but hey, they're back on the right track now and it's better than ever. And I think once people start to really see that whole ecosystem come together, I think it will answer that question for users. Why would I use gems over OMI?
Perfect. There's the people saying that, hey, people will buy OMI to buy gems as well as holding the store purchases or collectibles they purchase. So if it, I mean, some people, I don't know if anyone's ever heard of this thing called acorns, where they go in and they like round up. Like if you have something that's like $4 or if it's something that's $3.48, you round up and it takes that extra money and invests it for you. And I think that for a lot of millennials that told people, like, okay, let's just spend a little extra and then let's take that and let's like save it. So, and I've done this with other cryptos before, and let me know if I'm alone in this, where it says like, hey, we need $5 worth of OMI to buy these gems to do this. So let's buy $7 worth of OMI and then use the $5 worth to buy these gems. And then they hold that extra couple dollars worth. Does anybody else do that? They tend to buy more than they need so they can keep the extra, or like, and that extra adds up on a rainy day? Or is that something that is only me because of the TISM?
No, I mean, absolutely, Randy. And, you know, one of the really interesting comments that I saw from a couple of the community members after this announcement came live, and they said, you know, kind of for the first time, people are no longer thinking in stable coins, you know, and so OMI is just OMI now. And so similarly to gems, I mean, one gem always equaled $1. So if you were spending 1,000 gems, you were spending $1,000, and you were very cognizant of the fact that you were spending $1,000. Whereas with OMI, it doesn't really have that correlation one-to-one to anything. So when you go to spend OMI, you may go to buy 50 or 100 gems because you're looking to participate in a primary market drop, and 50 gems may cost you 200,000 OMI tokens, and you're like, I don't know what these OMI things are. Like, sure, I'll go ahead and buy those with my crypto, or oh hey, I got, you know, I want to use my fiat. I'm going to use a credit card. I'm going to buy some USDC. I'm going to swap it in because like what are these OMI thingies, right? And then you talk about rounding and leftovers. I mean, you know, you're always going to have a little bit of OMI kicking around somewhere, right? So it's never going to be a direct equal to. So it's going to help to onboard users, and it's going to help to serve as a reminder for users as well, right? They're going to be using their OMI tokens, and then they're going to go, oh wow, I got some of these bronze tickets things. What are those? And then they're trying to figure out what bronze tickets are, and then you know, oh hey, I got some MCP points for this. And then as we start to roll out some of the other fun reasons why people will want to hold and be rewarded with the token, they're going to go, oh wow, this is actually paying dividends in a sense to be holding this and to take advantage of it. And so I think that will inevitably answer the question for users: why would I buy OMI instead of using gems? It's the means to the end. If you don't have either, and you're going to spend $50 to buy something anyways, why would you not buy the thing that could potentially get you rewarded or earn you points or get you integrated in the ecosystem? And this also enables, you have to remember too, now that gems are an in-app currency, you know, it enables VeVe in the future, if they so chose, to you know, offer discounts or offer benefits or rewards for people who buy gems with OMI, as an example. And I don't want to say that that's a confirmed utility, but it's just an example. I mean, they alluded to it as well in their article, right? And I mean, if you look at, you know, a lot of different mobile games as an example, you look at Clash of Clans and a lot of these different mobile things, they offer pack bundles or they offer special purchase bonuses and different things like that. And now that gems are, or they will be after November 18th, an in-app currency, you can do those things, whereas you couldn't do them now, because how are you going to give people a 10% bonus in gems if they spend $100 when you already have the liability of having to cash out those gems one-to-one? Like, where is that money coming from, right? So I think it's going to really open up a lot of really cool opportunities. Will VeVe inevitably take full advantage of it? Time will tell, but I think that the point is that it's closer now than it ever could or would have been before. And I think that, to me, is the thing that excites me, because up until 24 hours ago, none of this was possible. And now you're only limited by your imagination.
Here's the thing too, I'll add, is as OMI goes up, the people that have been holding OMI are going to have more buying power. As Altseason kicks in, all coins all over the market are going to be skyrocketing in price. It happens every cycle. It's going to happen with OMI as well, especially with the utilities in place with it. And so you're suddenly going to have people that have stacks of OMI that are like, holy cow, it's worth 10 times as much as it was a month or two ago. And now I have 10 times more buying power if I buy collectibles in OMI. And sure, the collectibles will go up in price as well, but you're going to find people just taking that OMI and buying the collectible straight up, even more commonly, in my opinion, than you will see them buy the gems from OMI, then to buy the collectible with those gems. They're just going to buy it with the OMI they've got in their wallet already. And you're going to see people stacking and hoarding more OMI than they would. Just as people have gems in their accounts, you're going to see more people have OMI at the ready for buying, and then they'll sell the collectibles for OMI. They'll kind of have this revolving amount of OMI that they're comfortable with holding in their wallet at all times. And when you multiply that by thousands of people, you're going to have a lot of people holding more OMI.
And
Absolutely.
I'll agree 100%. And Rain can tell you why better than I can, because he's perfected this. I do not have the gift of explanation for this. Rain, tell us about high watermarks and what people do when they achieve a level of success that's greater than their high watermark.
Well, you mean like the water level where this?
Yeah. What happens when they have a large amount of money that goes past that? What do they do with it?
Yeah. What's funny is, so we all have a financial water level, and so some people's financial water level is $100. Like, they feel uncomfortable if they have more than $100. And some people's water level is 30,000, and some is $1 million. But when they get more than their water level, they actually spend it. They kind of push it out of their existence. And so this is why a lot of people win the lottery and then go broke, because their water level is 0 or their water level is very low, and they get $2 million and they push it out. So it's funny that a lot of people that are even in the crypto space, they don't really expect themselves to get rich. They don't expect themselves to become wealthy doing this. And so they're doing all the wrong things. I think people are going to be shocked what OMI's token does. I mean, we're talking about the utility for OMI, and what was amazing was 2021. I saw that utility doesn't matter near as much as I had thought it was. Sandbox had a metaverse, and the only thing you could really use their sand token for was you could buy things from other players using sand, or you could buy land from Sandbox themselves using their sand token, but there really wasn't a good use case for it other than that. And when crypto went crazy and the metaverse narrative hit, the sand token went several 100x to the upside, even though the utility with it was you could just trade things using sand token. So the same utility we're talking about for VeVe collectibles and OMI here. Yet OMI does have burns implemented. It actually has stronger utility than what Sandbox has. And so really, I think a lot of people are worried this, like, really, does this create buy pressure and stuff? And, you know, if people are then, you know, exiting out, they're selling something and exiting, then they have to sell the OMI. And like, really, does this create any buy pressure? It does create a utility, and it does circulate more OMI going like this past the burn mechanism. So more utility token than Decentraland had for their token, than Sandbox had for their token. What we're really waiting for is that big crypto boom. And the altcoin season, I think, is just barely starting. And I've been watching Bitcoin's dominance, and Bitcoin's dominance, once the early part of the market, it feels like only Bitcoin is going up, because for the most part, it is the only thing going up for the first while in the bull market. Then you see Bitcoin's dominance, you see that start to fall as some of the other altcoins start to run. And I think Bitcoin dominance peaked for this 4-year cycle. And I think the money's going to start moving into alts. I think the coming 3 months is going to be crazy. And I think some people are going to be surprised at what OMI does, because it feels like for 3 years, OMI's done nothing but go down, because that's all it has done for the past 3 years. And we make the assumption that, well, shoot, it's just going to keep going down for forever. Kind of like, I don't know, when Marvel Comics launched on VeVe and people were selling me their Marvel number ones for like two gems, 3 gems. And it seemed like the prices on those were going to be cheap for forever. And they weren't. And they went, you know, from 2 gems, I think was one of the cheaper ones I got, went all the way to like 700 gems over a period of just 5-6 months. And I think people are going to see OMI go absolutely crazy. And it doesn't feel like that, because for 3 years, it's gone down. After having, in fact, more than 3 years now, after having gone to crazy highs in 2021, it was one of the biggest gainers in 2021. And what does go up so high will often go too far to the downside. I think that's what we've seen. And so I love additional utility coming. I appreciate from David and Dan a big focus on OMI, because it is what funded VeVe. It's what made this all possible. And what I want to see is that they don't distance themselves from the token, and they make it integral to their platform. And it sounds like they've found some really cool ways to do that. And I appreciate them coming out and addressing it head on and making sure that we feel the love from them, because most of my money has gone into OMI's token. Why? I love VeVe collectibles. It's the emotional part of me that, like, I love what VeVe is doing, and that's the collector part of me. The other part of me is this big investor. It's like I've always wanted to be super, super rich, and crypto is the best vehicle to do that. And OMI is one of my favorite picks for that. So I've gone in huge on the OMI token, because I think it's massively undervalued. And I think it goes crazy in the upcoming bull run. And we're going to find out how that plays. But I think a lot of people that have been dabbling around in the space, they're going to be shocked at what OMI's token can do.
One thing I'll add real quick too, if I may, Doc, is, and you guys have talked about this multiple times on your show in the past, and it's appropriate to bring up again now, is I have been waiting for this moment to be able to have things pushed towards people selling in OMI in a accelerated way, is because it's going to add this multiplier effect that happens with the Ethereum NFTs. All right, there's a common saying that says 1 ETH equals 1 ETH. And Randy, you're nodding your head. You know what I'm talking about. Is that like these NFTs, when they're sold in ETH, it will be like Moonbirds. A perfect example is a project that's been kind of skyrocketing recently. Like 2 or 3 months ago, it was selling for 0.3 ETH when ETH was $2,500. Okay, so it was like $750 for a Moonbird. They started going up in price while ETH was also going up in price. They hit this last weekend just shy of about 4 ETH floor price, okay, while ETH was about $4,600 or so. And so the floor literally hit like $17,000. So it's like you get the price in ETH while the ETH price is going up during this bull run, for blue chips are really the only thing going up right now, Bitcoin and Ethereum. But the alt cycle is going to come, and eventually OMI is going to be going up in price, and people are going to be listing for a certain amount of OMI, and 1 OMI is going to equal 1 OMI, same type of thing. And so you're going to see people's OMI values going up. You're going to be seeing the buy pressure come as more people flood into the market and the collectibles go up in OMI, and you're going to get this similar multiplier effect that happens with the Ethereum NFTs or even Solana NFTs. And that couldn't really happen very well with gems only. People just saw the dollar amount. You bought the gems. The dollar amount was stagnant. Yes, it did go up, but now you're going to have a multiplier effect with the OMI token value being able to go up as well.
So Foster has been freezing for quite some time. I want to bring him back into the discussion with Mr. Epico's question about Foster. What can you tell us about OMI drops? Like, even if you can't tell us, like, I'm interested to understand how that's going to happen, right? Because OMI isn't integrated into the VeVe app, and so like how is an OMI only drop going to work? Can you touch on that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to speculate too much on features that haven't been like fully publicly announced or ruled out, but similarly to what we've seen with other features and integrations that have been taking place, is obviously Stacker has played a huge component in being able to iterate and create these features. So, without getting too much into the weeds in the thick of it, I mean, obviously Stacker is going to play a huge role in that. A lot of the utility that we've been building out for the token has been built out on Stacker and will continue to be built out on Stacker moving forward. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea. I know people would love to see OMI directly integrated into the app, but I'm sure, as many of you guys have mentioned before, and as we've mentioned ourselves, there's several reasons behind why that can't take place, and it's not as simple as just saying, hey, we don't want it to. There's a lot of regulatory issues and things that go into VeVe being a custody provider, issuer of an asset, and the provider for the trades. So eventually maybe we get to a point where that changes, but currently, while we still err on the side of caution, having Stacker as the exclusive third-party partner for VeVe and allowing us to build out a lot of our OMI utility has been fantastic. Obviously, Dr. Profit and his team, all hugely passionate VeVe collectors and OMI holders themselves, and so we're in a very good place with working with them, and their teams work very well with ours in building out a lot of these features. And of course, as you guys have seen from kind of the most recent announcements that we have been rolling out, we've been working with them behind the scenes for quite some time now. This isn't a partnership that was just formed, kind of a month or two ago on a whim and said, hey, let's see and make this work. This has been something we've been working on for the better part of 2 years. So I think you guys will start to see kind of a more regular cadence of deliverables when it comes to OMI utilities so far as Stacker is concerned. As we've kind of built out, I don't want to call it a backlog, but definitely been building out a lot more features on a more regular cadence that we can deliver on for OMI utility. And so OMI drops, maybe one of those. And similarly to how you see the connections to the VeVe app currently, I would speculate to anticipate that there may be some connection to the VeVe app directly as well, whether it be that you see the drop on VeVe and then click a button and it brings you over to Stacker for some visibility and for accessibility as well. But the actual payment and order flow itself takes place on Stacker, because that is where your self-custody wallet powered by Privy is. And it's also where you're being rewarded your daily and seasonal MCP points. And it will also be where you start to get some other cool rewards, which I'm not in a position to talk about quite yet, but that should be coming. I venture to say sooner rather than later, and I hate using that word, but it goes to show you guys the confidence I have in it. So don't shoot the messenger, but yeah, things are coming together quite nicely. And I think as we come through kind of the second half of this year, as we start to see some of those integrations, whether it be, you know, OMI only drops, or whether it be some of the rewards and plans that we have for users who are participating in the Stacker ecosystem, I would definitely recommend that users get familiar with Stacker, even if they're not comfortable to go ahead and make purchases on it quite yet. Familiarize yourself with the platform. If you have any questions, let us know. Let VeVe know, let the Stacker team know. If you have any suggestions or things that you'd like to see improved on the platform to make it easier for you, or things that you just, you know, you're not sure about, let us know as well, because obviously we're looking to work as hard as we can to create those on ramps and rails to make things as easy as possible for both a Web 2 and a Web 3 user base.
So you heard it here, right? Is that Stacker is going to somehow be integrated. This is me extrapolating the information and tying it together. That in some way, shape, or form, Stacker is going to be helping with the OMI only drops. My guess is yeah, either it's going to be on VeVe, but then it takes you over to Stacker, or it might even be on Stacker, right? But then you get like a redemption code or something, or maybe it just ties in that way. And then how soon are some of these other things gonna happen? Foster said soon, so that's probably tomorrow. Everything will be integrated. No, what I like is that Puddin' Cheeks said it's been over 2 years for some of this stuff that they've been working on building this out. And though Foster didn't say it, the whole thing, why this isn't integrated into VeVe's app right now is because of the Dapper Labs lawsuit. There's still lack of regulatory clarity on some of this stuff. However, if that changes, some of this might be rolled into the VeVe app, because they understand that it's easier just to have everything in one place, right? But until then, they're going to use Stacker, and Stacker has been great. What a great partner. Shout out to Dr. Profit and his team with everything that they've been building there. And it is fun. It is fun to use Stacker, right? And to see some of these things. And I just want to explain one thing that kept happening in the chat. There's discussion. So people who are watching this later, or if they have these questions, but it was just that people are like, well, why would people want to like, why do we need OMI? Why are people going to be buying OMI? And the reason is November 19th, if you want to cash out, the only way to do that will be to sell your collectibles for OMI. So that means that the large majority of sellers will be converting the sale of their collectible from gems to OMI. They will be listing it in OMI. So you will need OMI to buy collectibles. At some point, most people will not be listing in gems unless they're like, listen, I want to buy some more stuff in the app. So I'm happy to just sell for gems, because then I'm just going to buy some more stuff that way. And I don't want to sell for OMI and then convert back to gems or something like that. So there will be, but it'll be like flip. Right now we have mostly everything's listed in gems, and then down at the bottom it's OMI. It's going to be flipped, and it's going to be like everything's listed in OMI, and then maybe some things down in gems at the bottom. So hopefully that explains it.
Especially the big ticket items, they'll probably be listed in OMI. So if somebody's selling something that's $10,000, $20,000, $50,000 or higher in value, makes sense they're going to list it straight up for OMI. And so for those bigger items, people are going to have to buy a lot of OMI in order to buy them. And so I do think this pushes everyone to using OMI in the future. And especially as OMI starts to go crazy, and I think it will, it's had a 3.5 year downturn. What goes down does go up as long as the company survives.
I think it's good points all around. And oh, sorry, Randy, go ahead, dude.
No.
No, I was just gonna say I think it's great speculation, but I think it's speculation rooted in you know a lot of logic and a lot of thought out by you guys. And so you know it's really fun, like I said, to watch people start to piece these things together, because these are the internal conversations and pieces that we've been putting together for months, and in some cases years, to kind of go, how is this all going to fit together? How are these pieces of the puzzle going to come together? And when they do come together, is it going to make the ecosystem, out to what we're looking to be? And I think Doc, really hit on something really important, is that, for a long time, it's almost been an argument of why would I use OMI at all, or why would I use OMI over gems? And I think that come November 19th, both of those arguments just go away entirely, right? And so, we don't want to remove that utility from users who still would like to participate in gems in the ecosystem. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. But kind of when you look at it, and I put a post out earlier today speaking about it, there's going to be 4 ways to kind of interact on VeVe, right? There's going to be buy gems with fiat, or use your existing gems that already exist. Both of those mechanisms don't get you any rewards, don't allow you to cash out, and beyond that, leave you kind of, and I hate to say trapped, but the reality is it just, hey, I want to stay in the ecosystem, and that's what I'm comfortable doing. Nothing wrong with that. But then you're going to have 2 additional options. You're going to have OMI to NFT, which was rolled out a couple months ago, that burns tokens directly from the circulating supply, that allows you to onboard either via fiat or via crypto, so more payment options to on Rail 2, allows you to earn daily and seasonal rewards for holding your tokens in the ecosystem, and will also allow you additional rewards that we'll be announcing at some point in the near future. Or you use the OMI that you're already holding in the ecosystem, that you're either burning or buying with fiat or buying with other crypto, to then purchase the gems, which there may be incentives or benefits to doing that in the future at some point as well. But then you're also engaging in the ecosystem, but you're also burning the token. So it becomes a net benefit. And for me, it's kind of the and I've been saying it for the better part of 3 or 4 years. I was even saying it before I joined the team, is, do you care that 1,000 people are buying OMI to speculate on OMI? Or do you care about the fact that 1 million people are buying OMI to participate in the VeVe ecosystem, right? Like, what ends up being more of a net benefit? And so for me, the cost benefit analysis, when I look at how do we integrate OMI into the ecosystem and how do we make people want to participate with OMI in the ecosystem, it's never about OMI just being OMI. It's how does OMI tie in with VeVe? And if you believe in the value proposition of VeVe, then you want to utilize OMI. So when we look at kind of that issue and we break it down to its simplest form, is if you believe that VeVe can secure the licenses, can onboard new demographics and target the masses, and you believe that those masses are then in turn going to want to come in and utilize a token that's going to give them the greatest opportunity to be successful in the ecosystem, whether it's to earn rewards, whether it's to get access to exclusive drops that can only be purchased with the token, whether it's for a whole host of reasons, you have to honestly look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself the question, if I was new today and I needed to start from scratch, would I use gems or would I use OMI, and why? And if the logical answer isn't, hey, it's the same onboarding process between the two, but one of them gives me 5 benefits and makes me a part of a really cool community, and the other one does none of the above, the answer's simple. And so that's really what we're trying to do is people are worried about, hey, how am I going to convince people, how's this cash out process going to flow? Is it going to be difficult? Is it going to be, put sell pressure? Is it going to, blah, 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 blah. And all those are valid concerns. But I think what people are overlooking in that moment is, what are the doors that this opens outside of just what this utility is? Because this is truly just a means to an end. You can still buy gems without OMI. That's not what this issue solves. This issue solves 3 or 4 other things that are going to be really fun when people discover what those are, and then they see the doors that they open, and that's where the real fun begins. So yeah, and I'm probably saying too much now, but I'm looking forward to it, because it's
keep going, don't stop talking.
Got the feed. Got the feed.
No, it's going to be a lot of fun.
There's this, you have 2 different sides of this. Obviously, the bullish side, where people are like, hey, now ETH whales can come in and they could sweep the floors. But now there's not too many people selling on Stack. Like, there are, and it's great. We love it. But once you're kind of forced to do that, if you want to cash out, yes, you have the people that say like, okay, well, they're going to do that. They're going to dump, right? Well, now you have these ETH whales that are going to have to buy the OMI to get these collectibles. We know Dotted Prophet said he's been working on interoperability since January. no idea when that comes out. I'm going to say give it a year for something like that. But at some point, you're going to have these ETH whales that are going to come in. They're going to have to buy an OMI. It's very easy to go in and trade on Stacker and swap your ETH for OMI, bridge it to base. Gas fees are sponsored. And but there's going to be that cross trade. There's going to be that buy pressure. You do have some people saying that, you know, this is going to negatively affect the token. There will be sell pressure on it. David had mentioned on that video that David and Dan did that they're going to do more because the regulations are more clear on crypto. Is this something that could buybacks potentially be on the table because of that? Are you discussing everything, or is like, well, we are discussing X, Y, and Z, but we can't do that for these reasons?
Yeah, I mean, it's a fair question, Randy. I think one of the things that people are going to realize as this OMI to gem feature rolls out a little bit more is that, like, it's buybacks, but it isn't, right? And so when you actually look at the mechanism that exists, right? So buybacks, if you look at the function that exists in 2021, you would buy a collectible, right? So then VeVe would receive revenue from that collectible, and then they would go into the market, and then they would buy back a percentage of the token and burn it, right? So that's how the system worked. Potential securities concerns wasn't rolled out. So then I posit a question to you. What is you buying gems yourself, burning a percentage of it right off the rip, and then going out and buying collectibles?
Wait, I didn't understand that.
Yeah, can you say that last part again?
Yep.
What do you mean buying gems yourself and then getting it like right off the rip? What do you mean by that?
So there will be a burn component to OMI to gem.
Oh, only the gems. I thought, okay,
Yeah,
that's
for
right.
every purchase that's made, right? So if everyone is utilizing OMI to gem to participate in the primary market ecosystem, or OMI to NFT, which also has a burn component, you're burning the OMI directly rather than having to create a buyback, because the user themselves are the ones that are buying the tokens, and then they're voluntarily burning the tokens by participating in OMI to gem, and then every gem that's purchased, a percentage of it has been burnt already in OMI because that was what was used to buy the gem, right? So it's a really interesting mechanic, and it kind of front runs the need for the buybacks. And similarly with the OMI to gem pool that was going to exist back in 2022 in the original OUP. The reason that we had a gem pool where you could go and buy gems was because we were concerned about buyer and seller fees in the marketplace. So that gem pool was being funded by seller fees. So the percentage of that was being taken from the seller's fee. Those gems were then being put in a pool, and then users could go out and buy those gems with OMI, and then that OMI would be burnt, right? And it was going to be like 1 to 2% was roughly the metrics for the seller's fee for the buyer's pool, for the gem pool, sorry. So we don't have a gem pool anymore, but instead of having that 1 to 2% that you would have for the gem pool, you have a buyer's fee, which is already 2% on Stacker, and now you have an OMI to gem mechanic, which is also going to have a burn associated with it. But combining the two, it will actually be a significantly higher percentage than what you would have had with the gem pool alone in 2022.
All right, with VeVe, they talked about the VeVe verse, and there has been some, like, they've alluded to. Can you speak anything related to what's happening in VeVe verse, and they're going to sell things in the VeVe verse or something like that that can only be used, only be purchased using OMI, or what's the connection there? Because they've spoken about that, and maybe they haven't fully announced what's going on there. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't think any formal announcements have been made specifically with how OMI utility will work in the VeVeverse, but I do know that Dan has confirmed that OMI will be utilized in the VeVeverse to be able to purchase different accessories and items there. So I'm not going to speculate on too much how the mechanics work when it comes to that, but as we get closer to releasing those items for the VeVeverse specifically, we'll speak a little bit more on how those mechanics will work, and it'll kind of likely coincide with OMI exclusive drops, which is also obviously another utility that we've announced. But I won't speculate fully on how the mechanics will work until we're a little closer to actually releasing those, because I don't want to get stuck in a situation where people are still asking me that question in 6 months and we haven't rolled it out yet or something. So,
So the percentages of the OMI to gem. I'm guessing that's because VeVe used to have to pay like 30% from those Apple fees. Those percentages, obviously we're not getting a third, but they're not taking those percentages that they would have had to pay, and now they're putting it to OMI gem burn. Can you go a little bit into the percentages of how much OMI would burn from OMI to gem?
Yeah, absolutely. So they're still finalizing the numbers internally, so I won't publish any of the numbers publicly yet, but I can certainly assure you it's not going to be 30%. I mean, obviously that's a pretty significant haircut that VeVe was taking on their revenue for every situation, but kind of our goal across all of the utilities is to have a component that benefits the ecosystem across all of the utilities, so that regardless of where you're engaging or utilizing the OMI token in the ecosystem, you're benefiting the ecosystem as a whole beyond that. But at the same time, we also want to make sure that it has more of an impact than the original tokenomics that were announced in 2022, because we recognize that the community has stood by us and has supported us through that. So while we've maybe had to change how a mechanism or utility rolls out for a variety of reasons, the underlying mechanic of having that token removal will exist. And as we get closer to rolling out that feature in November, we'll make sure to publish all of the updated information that includes the specific percentages for that.
Thank you, Foster. Anyone else got any questions? Because Foster's in
Would you guys
right
like to venture to guess a number just out of curiosity?
Well, I mean, we have 2.5% from Stacker, but that's on the sell fee. So this one, they no longer. So VeVe no longer needs to worry about cash out after November, which means that they are going to have a lot of extra money to play with, because they don't have to keep an extra $500,000 to $1 million on the side for however many gems are in the ecosystem. They can go and reallocate that money elsewhere. If they want to be generous, I don't know. I have no idea. I would love to say 5%. Somebody else go.
I'm guessing 5. I mean, compared to the 30% cash out, and I get there's a lot of people buying gems on the web app where that's not applicable, but I'm going with 5. That's what I'm hoping.
I think 2 to 3%.
I'm going to raise the bar and put pressure on you guys. And I'm going to give it an example of, Clash of Clans, or not Clash of Clans, but the same company. What is it?
Supercell.
So when the announcement, right, with the links out, so now, like, I can buy gems with Brawl Stars. If I use their external link, I get an additional 10% gems, right? Like, so if, as opposed to using it in buying them in the Apple store, buying it in Apple, if I use that external link, I get an additional 10% there, right? Because again, they're not paying that 30% fee. So they're just like, listen, we are already eating 30%. If we can incentivize people, it's worth it for us to give them an additional 10 gems, which they can't cash out anyways, right? At the end of the day. And so it's still all locked in there. And we're just going to give them these additional gems. And so I'm going to say 10%, Foster. And when you guys, if it's not 10%, I'm going to ask why publicly on my channel.
I'm going to be with Rain and say 2 to 3%. But yeah, Foster, I'm very curious on this, if you can shed some light on it.
No, absolutely. I mean, I'm curious to hear where you guys are sitting and the different rationales and reasons behind it. I mean, obviously, I love Doc, shooting for the stars with his explanations and stuff. And, I mean, I'm there with him too. I understand the rationale and reasoning behind where he's coming from. Obviously, I guess the only thing I would say to counter that perspective would just be the fact that obviously with a game like Supercell, with Brawl Stars, it's their own IP, right? So they control everything end to end. So they don't have licensor fees that they need to pay and things of that nature. So that's the only thing that I would say to that. Not that I'm saying that the percentage is unreasonable, but just something to be mindful of, right? I mean, I would love it to be 50%, right? But at the same time, like, that money needs to come from somewhere. And when they're still paying licensors and paying employees and trying to create utilities and things like that, there also needs to be a benefit behind, like, hey, if you're giving away all your revenue, where's the money come from, right? So, I mean, I absolutely hear you on that, though. It's going to be interesting to see, obviously, the number that rolls out when it does. And you guys all have to give me your feedback on it as to whether it met or exceeded your expectations.
So counter to your counter, I agree that, like, the IP is there, right? But, like, they're having to pay that anyways when you buy the gems through the App Store, and they're eating 30%. So my whole thing is if you can create a big enough incentive to where if it's like, listen, if you're going to buy gems, we want you to buy them through our link, right? Not in the Apple App Store. We don't want that because then we're eating 30%. It's got to be a big enough incentive to really drive people to do that. So I agree that you're like, they've still got to pay this, but they're already eating 30% with the people. Listen, I still do that sometimes. I hate to admit that, but sometimes it's just like, I'm just buying freaking gems in the app because it's easier. It's so much easier to do that. And there is no incentive for me, except for my altruism, right? To say, I want VeVe to have this money, that for the most part, I go over and buy it on their website, right? Or I buy it in that link, but there's no incentive for me to do that. If there was an incentive, there would be so many more people who would go over and do that. But that incentive's got to be big enough for them to make that. So that's why I'm throwing out the 10%. I think it's something that should be discussed because I think that they would make more money that way. Now, the math that you have to do, right, is how many people are already just going to the app or off, on the web and buying it anyways, because then those people would now get an incentive to do that. So what would that cost be compared to how many new users? And maybe you could do a test where it's just like, hey, for 1 month only, if you buy this or you do this here, we're gonna do this 10% extra gems or something like that, and see the conversion rate and see what happens there. I don't know, something to think about.
Yeah,
Can I count
it's
box
super
counter,
interesting for sure.
imposters counter? No, I'm just messing.
This is to answer Victor, what happens when there are no more Disney drops? Be advised, they could do a drop every day for the next 5 years and still not run out of characters. Like there's no shortage of characters or things that they could do. So I think that's a silly question.
Oh God, I was talking to someone internally the other day on the VeVe side. They, actually, I won't say anything, but yeah, they're not running out of drops anytime soon. They gave me a date of the drop calendar that they're working up till, and I was like, holy crap on a cracker! Like that's not something you need to worry about. But yeah,
Yeah. So I think I mentioned this in my open letter to VeVe and Akomi, and I, Foster, I have to apologize because I feel like everyone or a lot of people are misinterpreting that, where I was still fairly positive about it. I said I'm still stacking OMI, I'm still stacking these collectibles, but everyone's like, yeah, Randy, with the real FUD, and I was like, this wasn't a FUD thing. Like, so if it read like that or if you received it like that, I apologize. That's not what I meant. My bad.
I can never be mad at you, buddy. You know what? I think the real testament to a lot of the people in our community, and certainly a lot of people up on this stage right now, is that you guys can have you can be very excited about something, but you can also be very realistic and pragmatic about it, and you can call a spade when it needs to be done. And I think that that's one of the reasons that I love interacting with you guys, and also why I value the community is for the amount of times that people will just be called moon boys. There's not very many people that I come across that can't be honest about the fact that they're not happy about something, or they don't understand something, or they don't agree with something. And I think that, it's one thing to be excited and be bullish about something, but it's another to just be, blindly following something. And certainly I think that, a certain amount of skepticism is healthy. And I think a certain amount of realism and being able to speak your truth about things that you've noticed and things that have been going well, but also things that you'd like to see improved. I mean, do we want to just be surrounded by people that are going to tell us the things that we want to hear all the time? I mean, sure, it's fine for a little bit, but is it really going to help you grow and become better? I would argue that it's actually a disservice, right? I mean, I think I want to be surrounded by people that are going to tell me honestly how they feel and what they would like to see. And I would hope that they know that I'm going to receive that in such a way that they only want what's best. And so I always tell people, attack ideas, don't attack people, right? And so you can be unhappy with something that the company has done, or unhappy with the decision that was made, but discuss the issue and discuss what the solution is. Don't just attack people or call it a scam or whatever the case may be. Is, you know, there's reasons that certain decisions are made that you know, a company may not even be happy about, but it's something that they've been forced to do for one reason or another. And you know, sometimes we're forced to pivot and change, you know, utilities in ways that we've intended over the years. And it wasn't meant to be a disservice or a detriment to the community. It's the reality of running a business and trying to navigate a space that has never existed before. And being you know, a leader in that space, I don't envy Dan and David's position whatsoever, and them having to, you know, figure out for the first time how to answer a lot of these questions as industry leaders. But I think, you know, the steps that they've made have been admirable. Have there been mistakes and missteps along the way? Absolutely. But that's the only way that you're going to grow and get better. And so I think we're taking the right steps now. And while I think certainly some may not see it as such now, I think when more of the pieces come together, as I mentioned earlier, I think the picture will become more clear, and I think people will be happy with it. And certainly, regardless of what we do, we're not going to please everyone. But as long as our underlying intent is to further the OMI community and further the utility that exists within the VeVe ecosystem, I think that the people that understand what we're trying to accomplish will continue to stick by us and provide us feedback when it's needed. And overall, I think, you know, when all is said and done, we'll be much better for it, and we'll be in you know, heading in the right direction.
Do before Foster freezes, anyone else have any last minute questions for him before we take it back?
Can you guys see me at all if I pull myself up here?
We see the lights in the
I see
background.
like the corner is
You can see the lights. I'm standing on a dock in the middle of the water. And, it's like 11 degrees outside, and my family's in a cottage up there, all hanging out. But like, this is what I try and explain to people, right? I just want to get heartfelt for a moment. Like, people don't understand when I talk about like my passion and excitement for this. Like, and I mean, not to like give myself credit, but like, how many people are you going to see like 11 o'clock at night on a weekday when they're like out with their family being like, no, like I want to do this. Like, no one's forcing me to do this. You know what I mean? Like, O'Milly reached out to me. He's like, hey, you want to do a space? I was like, I'm already doing Randy's. And I was like, no, you know what? I want to talk about this because this is stuff that you guys have been putting your time and effort into for months to stick by us when there was no reason to be excited. How am I going to leave you guys hanging out to dry when there actually is things to celebrate? Right. And so, I mean, everyone that's in the chat right now, like, just keep on keeping on. Like, I notice all the support, and I notice like, let's see, can you see my teeth? I don't know. Anyways, I just want to say I love you guys and girls. Like, it's just, your support means the world to me, and I know it hasn't been the easiest to stick by us the last couple years, but you know, we're in a good spot now, and it's only going to get better from here. And so, you know, thank you, like, very, very sincerely and earnestly, thank you guys so much for all the support and for making this kind of you know, it's a job, but it's also a passion. And so I'm feeling very grateful, and I look forward to continuing to be able to surprise and delight with a lot of the things that we have coming. And I think there'll be a lot more to discuss and be excited about. And I'm really looking forward to all the feedback and what you guys think about it as we continue to deliver for the community.
We there's a bunch of people that say like, okay, you have like, they congratulate people on having conviction. And, you know, conviction and belief is one thing. Like, you could have conviction that like the boogeyman is real and there's no real proof of it. But it's to be intelligent enough to stick with something, to say like, well, no, this will work. We just haven't found the right combination of things to make it work yet. And I feel like you guys are like professors and scientists over there. Is like, okay, we just have to find the right combination of meds or of chemicals to put this together to make this perfect thing. And it seems that enough of the building blocks and pillars are in place to build the house of OMI. And really, like, the market has been demolished this past week, but over the course of the next couple months, as things start to go up, as they have Altseason, I think everyone here will be heavily rewarded. Not financial advice at all.
Randy, I just gotta say, you can't be talking about the boogeyman while I'm standing on a dock in the middle of a lake.
No, you gotta worry about Mothman over there. Bigfoot.
Boogeyman won't go up to Canada. You're safe. It's way too cold there.
Yeah, Foster, we love you, and thank you so much for all you do. And I know it's a lot of work.
You know what? I love you guys. I'm gonna head inside. I'm gonna get warm, but thank you again for hanging out and inviting me on the space tonight. And I hope you guys keep it going once I'm gone. But yeah, thanks for all the love and support, guys. And I'll see you guys again soon. Okay.
We love you.
I love you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Foster. Appreciate you, man. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Later, guys.
I'm gonna buy him some old school 80s leg warmers because he's gonna need that. Remember when we had the Invisible Woman and it was just a stand and nothing on it? We should do like first appearance spots or Shadow.
Yeah, Shadow Master, right? We'll have a little stand and then it's just dark. You can only see the stand. And maybe the teeth or something.
Yeah,
like
can you
that.
see my teeth? Yeah. No, can't see your teeth. See nothing. Doc White is all I saw.
Have you guys taken a look at like a lot of this? I think is really bullish. You have some people that say like this is the end, I'm done, but I think the overwhelming majority are very bullish. You've had the OMI Secret Rare logo go from like $700 to $2,000 on just on this alone. Like now, obviously the price of OMI has. Yesterday it was a nice, it had a nice uptick, went all the way up to I think 20 or 0002-ish. Is now technically 5% down on the day, 001842. But I think that's just because it spiked yesterday, and here's where it is. When does this hype translate into buy pressure? Do we have to wait till November? Does it not really matter on if it happens in November or not? Just the greater overall alt season come in? What do you guys thought?
Well, the greater alt season is coming, whether anyone wants it to or not, and that is going to impact OMI's price. Look, this narrative is a really good narrative. Digital collectibles, like as people start to focus on digital, digital money, digital this, they'll have this epiphany. Digital collectibles, and Disney, Batman, Marvel Comics, a digital version. Oh my gosh. And their minds will be blown and be like, how did I miss this? And it will go crazy. And the OMI token will go crazy along with it. So like that's going to happen. The hard thing is the timing. It feels like it's never going to happen. When it does, it slowly, and you've experienced this slowly for the past 3 years, slowly, and then suddenly. For those that are in my audience and those that are here that are paying attention to crypto in general, you probably saw how October 2023 played out with blockchain gaming. Nobody was thinking about blockchain gaming. And then all of a sudden, from 1 month to the next, some of these projects went 10 to 15x. And that was still in the middle of a bear market. So when Altseason happens, you'll see slowly but suddenly, but it won't be 10 to 15x. Some of these things will go 100x, 150x in a matter of a month, and it will be like you'll just be left like, what the heck happened? Oh my gosh, I wish I'd put more in. Like, well, yeah, that window is closed, right? So a lot of the people here, they've been smart, they've weathered through the bear market, and Foster's like, oh my gosh, it's so great that you've been supporting us when there was nothing to support. And it's like, look, you see the vision. In order to do well in investing or even collecting, you've got to buy when prices are cheap. And prices have been cheap for a long time. So it felt like nothing was going to change, that nothing would ever go up. And then suddenly it will. Many of you that were around since 2021, you experienced that with VeVe's collectibles in 2021 going into January of 2022 when they just went meteorically up, and that same thing's going to happen again.
Not financial advice, but these are our assumptions, right? I think everyone here agrees with that assumption, and we're basing it off of like past cycles and what happens, right? So nothing is guaranteed. Like Rain always says, you could get hit by like a meteor tomorrow or whatever. You're saying is like might not wake up tomorrow, right? Like we don't know. Right. But the likelihood, right, is that the cycle continues as it is because it's a greed cycle. And this is what's so fascinating to me, right? Like human nature, there is this greed component to it. That's why we have cycles. And it's so funny because you look back and it's like, why haven't people learned? Is because they get greedy and then they start to explain away the logic. I did that to a certain extent when Crypto Cosmo was like, you should sell your secret rare Spider-Man for $85,000. And I was like, no, because it's going to $1 million. Right. And he's like, it's not going to $1 million. And I'm like, no, it is. Now, in my defense, right, like is they had talked about interoperability, and I'm looking at these Bored Apes, this no-name IP, right? And I was just like, if Bored Apes can hit this, then 1,000 secret rare Spider-Man is the first Spider-Man on the blockchain, the most rare, you know, like will absolutely go for higher than that, right? But like it was greed. It was greed, right? Like I wanted more, and I thought it was going to be more. And so people have made a lot of money on Bitcoin, and they're going to say, how can I make more? And they're going to say at some point, Bitcoin is going to top out. I want to get out before that happens. And then they look for other investments. And so then they say, what are the other crypto tokens that are undervalued right now? And I want to get into those early before they pump, right? And that creates sometimes a self-fulfilling prophecy. This is what happens. This is what happens. This is why the stock market goes up and then there's crashes. This is why real estate markets and values go up and then they crash, right? Like this, it's just a greed cycle. And so I'm betting on that, I guess, is what I'm betting on. I think there will be an altcoin run because I'm betting on greed. And like I feel like that's a pretty strong indicator. Like, I mean, like that always happens with the human race, guys. So now, again, if that happens and then OMI is there, and again, if it can get into that narrative, in one of the narratives, whether it's metaverses, digital collecting, AR, VR, potentially gaming, like there's a lot of different ways that they can hit this, right? And so now the one thing that I will say that I feel like I'm pretty good at like predicting some things in general. I made some pretty solid predictions on like what VeVe is going to drop, or I never saw only being able to buy VeVe collectibles with OMI coming.
Ever?
I never saw that coming. And what an incredible utility. And I like your question, Randy. I mean, I understand Foster's explanation of it, that there will be burns. But I believe that because OMI is a utility token, right? And I think that the SEC is going to come out and kind of categorize utility tokens and have an exclusion there, that OMI might be excluded from any other things of being a security, and therefore they could do token buybacks or burns, things like that. I think that I absolutely believe that airdrops are on. They can even do airdrops for token holders, like at that point, right? Like there's a lot that they could do there, not just like NFT holders, but token holders, right? So I don't know, man. Like the future is pretty
crazy.
exciting with this.
But yeah, Cosmo, same question. Unless you have other points you want to build on there. But yeah, just do we have to wait till November, or does it not matter whether November even comes or not, because we have this Altseason coming in? And just points you want to follow up Doc and Rain from.
Do we have to wait for November to be able to start buying or selling?
No, before OMI starts to move.
Oh yeah, I don't know exactly, honestly, when exactly that parabolic move is going to start. It's hard to say. Like I've been scooping up some token just as recently as a few days ago, just in preparation for it. But my belief is going to definitely move, and it's going to move strong, and it's probably going to be as more announcements roll out and as the broader market heats up. So I don't know exactly. I do tend to think that because it is associated with NFTs, that it will kind of move as the NFT market heats up at large. But it's tough to say. I guess one thing I'll piggyback though off of what Doc was saying is that excites me about VeVe is I have noticed that the NFT cycle this time around has shifted, as things do from cycle to cycle. But it's shifted. You see all of these blue chip NFT projects that are strictly just like on the Ethereum blockchain or so. They are starting to grab a hold of partnerships from mainstream Web2 brands. And like that's a shift that is happening where they are trying to make these partnerships so they can get visibility to the Web2 audiences. You saw Doodles do a partnership with McDonald's earlier this year. Okay. Bored Ape, they'd actually done one of the first, partnerships on the Ethereum blockchain, at least with Gucci or I think it was Gucci or something way back. And you're starting to see like Twix, a partnership with Twix or some sort that seems to be brewing with Doodles. Moonbirds wants to do something with KFC. And so you see like VeVe front and center having partnerships with hundreds of these mainstream brands. it bodes very well where things are headed in the NFT market at large and Web3, where they are trying to make partnerships with Web2 to get visibility.
I love your explanations and your bullishness. It's like Gene Wilder and Blazing Saddles. Like normally he's so like but in there he's like so like reserved, but you could still tell like that beast mode bullishness is inside of him. So I love it when he talks. Bitcoin's done a heavy other stuff has done a heavy downturn this week, but that's fine in my opinion. I think that'll all level out at some point. Does this change your guys? I don't want to say time. Just change your guys' strategy. It's saying like, well, I had some extra gems that I was saving for X, Y, and Z, and now that I know that I won't be able to convert that to fiat so easily, now I might just buy some that's super liquid, Todd, Superman, Spider-Man, etc., and then cash out the OMI. To change anything that way for you guys?
I have a hard time keeping gems around on the app. I usually spend them, but OMI I hold on to like a hoarder, like crazy, right? So I'm not tempted to sit there and spend my OMI on things, but gems, if I have like 100, 200, 300 in there, I start finding like comics that are like I think might do well. Low edition comics where there's only 1,000 of them or 2,000, and the comic's quite good. I end up buying a bunch of those, and then all of a sudden my gems are gone. So I don't have any gems lying around that I need to worry about cashing out. But a lot of people are going to probably start spending their gems. If they're sitting on a whole lot of them, they're like, crap, I can't really cash these out. So they're probably put them into collectibles that they will then have to sell for OMI.
Here's the thing. Oh, go ahead, Doc. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say it'll be interesting for any of the bot accounts who maybe haven't been paying attention and they've got like a massive load of gems. If they just are sitting on it and they don't realize what's going on. Then they go back in and they're like, wait, what? Like I can't cash that. Yeah.
I was going to say, Rain, I've been digesting that topic throughout today as I've been thinking about this announcement. I'm like, shoot, I don't spend any of my OMI currently, like outside of just little bits in here. I've spent most of my collectibles have been purchased in gems. And now as that's going to shift, it's going to kind of force me to get into that habit of selling and buying on Stacker and having kind of that getting used to spending OMI and then grabbing the OMI bag that I've gotten. I'm like, oh man, dude, this can make it hard to hold on to my OMI. And I'm a little bit worried about that. I've been thinking about that. So
it is going to get people used to holding OMI though. Way more than normal. There's a ton of VeVe people that really don't buy and sell OMI or have no OMI, but now it's going to get them in the habit of using it.
mm-hmm.
I think that at some point they're probably going to, depending on what, like how the price goes, but there might be a time where they look at raising the level, right? Because people are asking that, like, of staking of, soft staking of 10 million OMI, like, people might start selling things in OMI and then they're holding a decent amount. So like, how does that impact things? And then, it might make people want to hold more OMI, which then again decreases that sell pressure, because what'll happen is they're like, well, I'm going to hold on to the OMI that I got for selling this collectible, but I want to buy more collectibles. So I'm just going to need to buy more OMI, right? Like anyways, man, it's going to be very interesting to see how this all plays out. But I do predict, Randy, that at some point before November, we're going to see an uptick in OMI price as people start selling things, right? Or they're using their gems. And now they're just like, more people are going to start converting me. Like, I need to start listing in OMI now because like the date is getting closer. And so then it's going to force people to start buying OMI to buy stuff, So I do think that there's going to be a rise in OMI, probably like at least beginning of November, right? That's about 3 weeks before that date. So we'll see.
You guys want to hear a $100,000 story?
Yes.
Always.
So last bear market, right? Decentraland they had done some like drops of like some shirts and stuff, and that you could earn them and stuff, and people were turning around selling those. And I thought, well, mana's not going to be worth anything, so I took ETH and I bought about like 1,500 or 15,000, 17,000 mana tokens, which were dirt cheap at the time. And I was buying some of the shirts and stuff for like $100 a piece. Well, mana went to $7 a piece. So think about like 16,000. If I had just kept them in the tokens, that would have been about $100,000. So I still have some of those collectibles, and maybe if Decentraland survives, some of those will be worth something. But like, I looked at that when the token went to like $7. And I was like, oh crap! I paid 500 mana tokens for that. I'm like, crap! That was like a $35,000 Decentraland shirt right there. But the same thing's going to happen with OMI. I think that OMI goes crazy, and people had bought these collectibles, and the collectibles will go up, but maybe not to the extent OMI did, and they'll be like sitting there looking, and it's like, shoot, Rain was right. I probably should have held on to my OMI tokens. Damn. I should have bought more OMI as my homie.
Ray, there is that same kind of thing though that makes me wonder is that, a similar thing with ETH, right? Like you look at buying NFTs with ETH, like I did with Moonbird, and if I would have held on to my ETH instead of buying some Moonbirds around 0.3 ETH, then that ETH would have gone up twice as much. It's gone up almost 2x since then. But instead, the Moonbirds went up in ETH cost while ETH was going up. So now I could sell that Moonbird, and as of the weekend, it was worth almost $18,000. So there may be some of that impact though that's going on with the OMI.
Some of them will get amplified like that, especially your highly desirable collectibles. They'll get super amplified, right? So, which are those? It's hard to tell, but there's so many collectibles out there right now that some of those just won't get as much traction in the bull market as others.
Right.
So there's people claiming that this is the best OMI Homie episode ever because the news that's on here. There's a lot of bullishness on here. What
I like it.
What more can they do? I mean, and obviously interoperability has been talked about for a while. Prophet's been working on that, but outside of that, like, there's so much stuff that, like, Proxima Blockchain had this issue where he created a roadmap for fiches, and he delivered it in like a month, and then like that was it. The bullish stuff was gone. Like, what else can VeVe and Akomi do after this is done to keep that hype up? Because this is probably, I don't know if this is going to be topped. Interoperability would be great, but like, what else?
Cards on VeVe.
What cards on VeVe?
Playing cards on VeVe. That's something VeVe can do, and it will give additional use case. What I like is there's sufficient things going on here for OMI that if they just take VeVe to the #1 collectibles app, I'm glad he went to that conference, and David was super excited. I think it kind of blew his mind. It's like trading card games. Oh my gosh. And I've wanted them to go down that line for a while. I mean, could they go to the point where they like get certain lines and they have games within VeVe itself? Like you could hold them on VeVe and then play the games within VeVe. That would be cool. I mean, that would help make VeVe the #1 collectors app in the world. I hope they just dominate this space, because if so, that's what's going to make OMI worth so much. If it becomes the #1 digital collectible app in the world, then OMI becomes super valuable.
Yeah. Guys, what do you think else they could do?
Go ahead, Cosmo.
If they do interoperability combined with not needing KYC, like Doc was saying, that would be incredible. But like, there's still more that could be done to really pump this up. Like, if they had like geolocation, placeability of collectibles mixed with, as AR glasses become real, like smooth, seamless, almost just like regular glasses, and everyone's kind of just wearing around, and you can just kind of place your collectibles where you're at, or stores or businesses could do like, find this collectible, you win a prize, that kind of stuff. I mean, there's a lot of different things they could do to really amplify things. But then, of course, the partnerships and the new verticals like trading cards, but big time names that get brought in. Man, I mean, exciting thinking about it, because I think there's some of those things in the works, and it'll be fun to see how they roll it out.
Yeah, I mean, I think another thing that they can do, right? And I've talked about this a lot. Like, I feel like it can't be that hard to incorporate like some of VeVe's NFTs into the gaming ecosystem, whether it's Web3 games, Web2 games, right? Having an API, basically reaching out to the VeVe app and saying, do you own this collectible or not? And if you do, then you get to utilize this skin on the game. If they can do that, right, where then people outside of the VeVe ecosystem are like, I want this skin, right? And it's like you can go to this marketplace within there and you like, I mean, they could easily develop it. So for example, right, it's like, okay, like I like this Fortnite skin and maybe it's the NFT on VeVe, right? Or something. And I'm using Fortnite just because it's the biggest one, right? Or Call of Duty or something, right? But and it's like they just go to their Call of Duty marketplace and they freaking buy it. But the API, what it does, right, is because you can only freaking buy the NFTs in OMI is you buy with a credit card, then the API goes in, it goes to the decentralized exchange, it purchases OMI, makes the purchase, burns some OMI, and sends the NFT, right? And that's all done in the background, and people have no idea that that's even happening, right? Like that would also make OMI go crazy because there is there's just that burn and that there's that buy pressure from people who don't even understand that they're buying the OMI token. They're just buying the NFT and all of that's happening in the background. That's another thing. And then what does that also do? It gives it visibility and it gives it a lot of attention. If you can partner with a major, because people are already talking about that, right? With these DeLoreans and stuff like that. And it's like, oh, well, you know, you can use this in the future verse or you can use this in this other game. And like, so like, and that's like a Web3 game and it's not even really out yet, but there's a lot of bullishness around that. You combine that with interoperability and node KYC, all those things together and like the cost. I mean, it's just, it's crazy. It's crazy what could happen.
Bitcoin BMW is saying, how do you explain to users that you can spend fiat in the app but can't cash out? Basically, I see this as like Robux or V-Bucks or whatever they use in any other type of metaverse system. You can buy credits and you can buy them at like 7-Eleven or Walmart, whatever. You get those $20, $50 things. You put money in, don't take it out. This is no different than that, in my opinion. Lambos would be dope. But yeah, Cosmo, what do you think about the... Sorry, Doc, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I agree. That would be huge.
Yeah. Cosmo, what do you think about what else could they do to make it more... After this is executed, this seems like kind of a big top, and I don't know how they could ever top this.
Yeah, I mean, what Doc was just saying would be huge, but yeah, like I was kind of mentioning, the geolocation, doing that would be really fun. Trading or new collecting verticals will be fun to kind of see what they do and how creative they get. Trading card games like that would be a big one, which sounds like they're planning. We'll see what they can do with like announcing different sports IP and things. David was talking about that and some of the things they've got to be cognizant of. I don't know, man. I think those just few things mentioned are so big. Interoperability, gaming, and having IP like be able to have usability in different games and people be able to buy stuff and skins in games that relate to VeVe collectibles. I don't know. They get creative and think of more stuff, though. I don't doubt it.
I hope that now David went to this, like card convention, I think in like Chicago or something, and I'm just hoping that the first one, and I know that you never want to lead with your best because then there's nowhere to go but down. But when they announced the music, and Ron English, God bless him for all the stuff he does for the gold logo stuff. He doesn't get paid on any of that. Like those are just airdrops for us or stuff that we can redeem just for having gold logo. That's great. But when they had music and it was Ron English stuff, which is, I have some of those, they're cool. But I feel like if it's like a trading card and it's not something that has a different name than what we're already used to, it might be a little, and obviously it can go crazy. You go like One Piece, you go Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh! Eventually, like or that. But TCGs are very hard to make. They're very hard to have any traction with. So I do worry about one, how many people will be interested, and then two, how many, not if they're interested, like the lasting power of that. Because like everyone was playing Pokemon TCG Pocket when it came out. I don't know how many people are still, I know there's enough people that are still playing, like the mega nerds, that I would be one of them if I was any good at it. But yeah, I don't know. That's just kind of a concern to me.
So if they took a game that's already out that's been successful and they brought it online, number one, they could then implement the rules already and they leverage off existing IP, which is a lot of what they've done. is leveraged off existing IP. So trying to make a new one, they're a little bit late to the game. Splinter Lanes is already out, Gods Unchained, and other things. But if they just dial into audiences for games that are already there and they make it playable online, then they have the #1 digital collecting platform already, and they just tie it into that. They can do that kind of thing much faster.
Agreed. Rain, we're gonna wrap it up here. Do you have any final thoughts on this? We'll start with you on the ending.
Well, so we're midway through August here, 2025. Feels like nothing's happening with OMI's token. Watch over the next 4 months. I bet you that changes drastically.
Agreed. Doc, what you got for final thoughts?
Listen, I'm really excited to see David and Dan publicly talking about OMI, and not only that, but like if you guys listen, I feel like we're gonna get like a mad rush of announcements that are happening. I just logged into the VeVe app. I don't know if you guys have seen this already. It's already there, guys. Check this out. Like, OMI to Gems is coming. Right. And then it basically is telling you like, hey, here's kind of the thing. And like, I've got to accept the new terms here. Right. Like before I could even get in there, accept the terms before I can get into the app. So like, but they talked about like, there's going to be like a slew of announcements that are just coming out here. Like I'm excited to hear within the next couple of weeks, like what's happening, but it sounds like there's kind of like this media rush or marketing rush, if you will. And I'm excited for, just like having to purchase collectibles on the secondary market in OMI, extremely exciting for the use case of the token. So,
what do you got, Cosmo, for final thoughts?
Yeah, I'll just say strap in. The thing I look at is David and Dan have talked many times that they understand the cycles and they understand that timing is critical. They also understand that many of these partnerships take years, and they have been so good at keeping things super quiet on major IP announcements. Blackpink was in the works for 2 full years. Nobody even knew. They had the interviews with the team all done, wrapped up. Nobody even knew until like the week or two before it announced. They have been building for years on this, and they know that timing is critical. They know the bull market 4-year cycle. I believe we are going to go for a ride with a ton of announcements, a ton of IP, and I am excited for it all.
I feel like that Numa guy from like 2008 on Newgrounds. I just get so pumped, and I agree we'd like to see OMI on a tier 1 exchange, but I think with this you get a lot of volume. I think with this you get a ton of volume, and OMI has like 1 to 2 million, sometimes even less than 1 million volume on a daily basis. How much of that is market makers? I think if you get a few $1 million of real volume, it starts to get people noticing. There's going to be a lot of burns. I think it's going to be really good optics. So I'm super excited about this. Obviously, we talked about some of the stuff that could be perceived as negative, but thank you everyone for watching. This has been great. And we'll see you all again soon. I love you guys. I love you guys so much. Yeah, man.